We're rolling. Rolling. We got that going there. Hopefully the wind plays nice with us here.
It's weird. I don't think we've ever recorded after riding our bike.
I think you might be right. We'll consider that. Hello, everyone. Oh, my God.
We made it. We made it.
I really never thought this would happen.
I mean, we made it two ways. We made it to 100 episodes, and we made it here.
We did make it here.
Yeah.
We did make it here.
Despite this wind.
Despite this wind. Yeah, y'all are going to hear some background noise. Maybe the AI will fix it when we get back to civilization.
Doubtful.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Well, welcome to ShiftLess, the podcast that is only about bicycles.
Might be a little bit of whiskey talk tonight.
It could be.
This is actually way better than I remember.
You said it was super peaty. And
It is peaty.
It's peaty, but it's not hitting me as super peaty.
Yeah. It's not as aggressive as I remember it.
Okay. All right.
I have a bottle at my house that
Look at you.
probably has it's probably half a bottle. Yeah, might be the company.
Okay.
Yeah. If Rich wasn't here, this whiskey would taste like shit.
We have an audience. Unfortunately, it's
An audience of one.
An audience of one. Unfortunately, not mic'd up today because we're traveling light.
Every week you have an audience of one.
Every week we have an
Not
audience.
true.
Of
Sometimes Dan listens. My boy Dan win.
Well, all right. So this is actually officially episode 100. We'll dig into some more particulars shortly on what might make it special. Might be a stretch, but different than usual. How about that? Is that fair?
That's fair to me.
All right. But first, Bradford,
Mm-hmm.
weather update, please.
Man, when we were pointed north today, the weather was amazing. When we were pointed any other direction, it was proper shit. But the headwind, legitimately on the way in.
Those last 5 miles were not bad at all.
No, it was actually cooling. And like I said, it gave me a reason to stand up. Felt good. Legs felt good. The weather was nice and overcast almost all day. Found a beautiful spot there in Sangler to have a beer and some pizza.
I think we'll have a segment dedicated to just that.
Yeah. That was a nice little find, diamond in the rough. The route was great. The only questionable automobile move was made right there when we were turning on the Western Center. That guy in the Accord that went around us on the shoulder to turn left in front of us. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing, dipshit? I think I told him exactly that.
I was like, oh, you're cute. But that was really the only crappy encounter we had.
Yeah.
And he just went on by us and carried on his way, so it wasn't like a big deal.
Yeah, I called him a dipshit again.
Yeah.
I think that was fair, though. It was deserved.
Oh, yeah, he was totally a dipshit. But
well, to fill in the blanks, if we do have a new listener that isn't aware of what we're up to today, this is episode 100 of ShiftLess. And it was a roundabout way to get here at multiple levels, but somewhere along the way, we got the idea that it would be kind of cool to go off on a bike ride and overnight somewhere and record episode 100 there.
It was a very convoluted path because it was supposed to be an overnighter.
First to the LBJ grasslands. And from my perspective, that's what it was supposed to be.
And it was going to be this coming weekend.
This weekend. And
that whole thing got scrapped.
With a group.
Yeah.
With a group.
And I wasn't going to be able to be
and
be
you
able
weren't
to be
going
there.
to be part of the group.
Yeah. So that whole thing got scrapped, not because of me.
No.
And then we were going to stay.
We were going to stay at Isle du Bois State Park, which, with, quite frankly, what I think would have been ultimately a better all-around route, because we had more mileage to work with to connect the dots and not have, some lesser desirable pieces.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from Isle du Bois State Park yesterday that their well had gone out and all camping was canceled. So they refunded our money, which was very nice.
Did you tell them we didn't need any well water?
I did. I actually did.
Yeah.
Actually they had called me on Sunday and said that was, they were having well issues, but if we wanted to cancel, we could. I said, I can take a luggable loo. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we think the well guy will be out there on Monday. Well, I got a call from another ranger yesterday that said, no, boss says we're shutting down camping. But we're going to refund your money. And if you need to camp,
Thanks a lot, Doge.
call Johnson Branch State Park,
Yeah.
and you can have a complimentary reservation. So this is a free campsite, and we're at Johnson Branch State Park.
I can't tell you the last time I've been in Johnson Branch. It's been 6, 8, 10 years.
I would say I'm probably somewhere in that same time frame. And like I was saying on the ride up, this used to be one of my go-to spots.
Yeah.
When I was heavy into mountain biking, and before all of the other DFW trails started springing up, that started around 2007, 2008. They started adding all the new trails.
I don't know. I know North Shore is one of the older ones.
But they looped it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 'cause
that was
I
a
used to
big
ride it,
change.
and it used to be an out and back.
Yeah.
Like back in 2000.
Yeah. Well, and Nob Hills got looped, and I was trail steward through 2011 there, 2010, 2011. And I tried for years to get
It looped.
it looped, and
Yeah.
the Corps wouldn't let us do it. And then,
It's so much better looped.
everything is.
Yeah.
But I think the Corps saw how successful that was at North Shore and said, we need to do that at Nob Hills too.
Funny story. The first time I ever rode Nob Hills was with you.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was a in-person conversation or a Dirt Dogs conversation.
99% chance it was a Dirt Dogs conversation that probably got the ball rolling.
That's fair. But I remember you saying, I'll show you around. And we went out and rode Nob Hills. It was the first time I ever rode it.
Are you sure it wasn't when we were riding RCP together one time?
That's very possible. I think it was I want to say it was an in-person conversation.
Because you and I, I think we did a team DBW ride at RCP one day. Everybody else went and did. They did something else. I think maybe both of us were training for something long or something like that. Maybe a Ouachita challenge or something. I don't know. We did something different. You and I went out and did our own thing for the evening, apart from the group for some reason.
Very possible, but I don't recall any of the specifics.
I just remembered your shaved legs, sexy self.
God, I did used to shave my legs.
You did.
I was such a fucking bitch.
No socks or ankle socks or whatever it was. Showing off those sexy long tan legs.
It was ankle socks, yeah. I'm a crew sock guy now. I like crew socks. And I don't shave my legs.
And you don't shave your legs anymore.
No power meter.
I've got a power meter.
Do you really?
On my indoor bike.
Oh, yeah. What's your FTP, bro?
190.
Oh, okay. No clue.
Understood.
Yeah, I don't even know what that number means.
I don't know how accurate.
It's my Dylan Johnson question. What's your FTP, bro?
Yeah. What's your VO2 max?
Oh, I don't know.
69.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah, I know.
I felt good today.
You look good today.
I feel good.
So, how many miles did you end up with today, Bradford?
Over 51.
Okay.
Like 51 and some change. Kevin,
Rich is pointing at me.
Yeah, how many miles did you end up with?
Oh, 53.
Wait, 53. And why did you end up with more miles than me? Rich, you never told Rich why you ended up with more miles than me.
I did too.
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
Nope. You said you wanted to try out the turbo feature on your e-bike.
Well, I had to try out the turbo feature.
What necessitated the use of your turbo?
Well, we got about a mile from Brad's house.
Yeah.
About a mile, right?
Yeah.
Well, you were at 51. I was at 53 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And, I was feeling good, feeling spry. We were chugging along. And I was going like, yeah, man, my helmet's kind of tight. And I went to tap on it like that. Hear that? And I realized that I didn't have my helmet on. I had a tight cycling cap and my Aftershocks earbuds on, which felt like a helmet on my head.
So we're standing around, and I'm like, hey, are you about ready? And he goes, yeah, why? I had my helmet on, my shoes, everything, and he's just standing there with a cycling cap on, and I'm like, okay. Because I asked him, because I was like, well, maybe since he doesn't have his helmet on, he wants to jaw a little bit and just talk about the route and possibilities or whatever. He's like, yeah, why? I was like, okay. And then we started riding. You were actually behind me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I noticed, but I was like, well, maybe Kevin's just bucking the system today. And so I wouldn't, you're a grown-ass man. You're older than I am. So I was like, maybe he's
barely.
Maybe he's just going to roll, I don't know. So then you're like, hey, I forgot my helmet. And I'm like, And then it was because you just turned around, there was no conversation. I was like, wonder if he wants me to wait for him right here or. So that's when I sent you a text. I don't know if you even saw it.
I saw it when we got to Sanger.
I sent you a text and said, hey, I'm just going to slow roll until you catch me. So, but it all worked out.
Yeah. Like I said, hit the turbo mode, got back to your place, got to spend some more time with the dogs, which that's always good.
Yeah.
And turned around and finally caught you at about Gravel Bomb, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere right there.
And good to see Gravel Bombs still there for the time being.
For the time being.
I don't know how much longer that's going to last.
It's short-lived.
Today would have been a good day for a Gravel Bomb attempt for somebody that might be so inclined.
It sure was. I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at my segment, but there was quite a few times where we were headed uphill and I was low heart rate and doing like 17 miles an hour. And I was like, this is awesome. In fact, after you cross 2449 and then there's that one substantial hill, we're going up it and I was doing like 14 and a half miles an hour. My heart rate was like 120. I was like, this is beautiful, but it would have been a good day to hammer Gravel Bomb had we not had 45 more miles to go.
Yeah. And I don't think either of us is quite in hammer mode yet.
No.
I definitely, speaking for myself, I know that for a fact. But
no, I'm training for all-day mode right now. I'm about to start putting some intervals into my workout just to get a little bit more top end.
Oh, so you're going to polarized training now, huh?
I don't think that I'm quite there. I want to start, like I said, like I was telling you earlier, last week was my biggest week in quite some time. I want to say for the year. I had I think right at 12 hours last week. And I'm hoping to get at least 12 hours this week.
You're going to have to if you ride tomorrow. There's no way you can't.
Yeah, it depends on what the weather does.
I understand. Weather's always a factor.
It is. But I hope it's not questionable. I hope the decision's made for me. Either we wake up and you
want it to be black and white.
Yeah, either we wake up and it's fine, or we wake up and we're like, no. But I don't know. We'll see. There's no way around
nothing
it.
I can do about that one. Not even my fat ass trying to block the wind's going to do it there.
The wind has been a factor all day today, but luckily
generally to the good for us today.
I'd say 70% tailwind ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
And that last,
your shirt's blown away, so if you don't see it in a little bit, it's in the chasm.
Understood.
Yeah.
My pine berry.
Yeah. Good thing it's not camo. It'd be gone forever.
So we mostly tailwind, a good bit of crosswind, but our last 5-ish miles was a straight headwind to the campsite, which I actually enjoyed. Frankly.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at it. Especially, I mean, if it would have happened halfway through the ride, I would have had different feelings about it.
I'm never going to be the type of person that wants to do half my ride with a tailwind and finish with half my ride into a headwind. If it's half and half, I'm going to do headwind half,
Yeah.
tailwind second half.
That was why my comment at the end was, I'm glad this was at the very end.
Very end, very end. Last 10%, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Last 50%, that would have sucked.
Mm-hmm.
A middle chunk of 50%, that would have sucked probably too.
Yeah.
But all good, all good. Texas Hills, man.
Yeah.
Texas Hills.
It was a good route. We, not a lot of super chunk. There was some real thick gravel, I don't know, mile 30-ish. After we left Sanger, we hit some thick gravel. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was before we hit Chisholm.
I think I kind of sort of remember it, but I was feeling good at that point. We had pizza and beer in us, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that's all thanks to you, Mr. Super Aware going through downtown Sanger.
It's not like there was a lot of choices. What's funny, though, is when we were leaving Sanger, I saw more places.
Really?
To eat, yeah.
Okay, such as donut, can't remember.
Nah.
So what was the name of that place? What did we find? I'm not gonna have to go dig up the card, am I?
Something rail. Uphill rail?
Uptown Rail. Or
Uptown Rail.
Uptown
That's
Rail.
what it was.
And it was
Uptown Rail
brewery,
and
pizza, and like there was a
no, what you're thinking of is what said on the door.
creamery or something.
Oh yeah, there was a ice cream joint.
Ice
next
cream
door.
shop or something. But it was a big building
Yeah.
and had
Cool
this
venue.
really neat venue. Had a whole wall of taps of generally what seemed to be pretty good beers.
Yeah, they had good beers on tap. They also had a lot of their own beers,
Yes,
like at least 10.
And
I
we-
should have taken a picture.
I did.
Okay.
I did. Maybe I'll make that the cover
Yeah.
because I'm a fan. We're gonna do a Club Spinistry right out of Sanger one
They
Saturday
had a
morning.
good whiskey selection too.
They had a good whiskey selection. I would call the pizza.
It'll make a turd. Pizza and porn are the two things that will work in a pinch, no matter how bad they are.
Actually, the pizza wasn't bad. The pizza wasn't bad at all.
It wasn't.
I've definitely had worse pizzas.
I have more pizza for my dinner tonight, right here.
You do.
Maybe to go with my ramen.
Pizza and ramen and pistachios
Living like a college kid.
and scotch.
Oh, and thank you, our one esteemed listener, for this beautiful bottle of 10-year Lafroig. Lafroig. Oh, it even says it on here. Pronounced Lafroig.
Lafroig.
Lafroig. Nice and peaty. You know, I'm going to have to revisit my bottle and see if my bottle tastes like this. Because I don't remember
There's kind of an
loving
earthy aftertaste in this one.
You think? But they've been
He was
doing it.
busting my balls about a beer we were drinking, and doesn't that kind of have a dirty aftertaste to it?
They've been doing this for 75 years, so they got to be doing something right. That seems like a short amount of time. Oh, 1815. But wait, this says our 10-year-old is the original Lafroig, a distinctive character that still holds true to the spirit of N. Hunter, who first created it over 75 years ago. That doesn't compute with 1815.
Well, you know, they drink a lot of scotch over there, so
Their math ain't mathin'. Either way, it's good.
We'll dig deeper into that in another episode.
It's good. It's good. I'm normally a bourbon rye guy, an American whiskey person, if you will, but any port in a storm, you know?
Hey,
When a guy pulls out a bottle of whiskey and says, "Hey, would you like some?" You say, "Yes, thank you."
and please more.
Yeah.
And so that was our lunch stop, an unplanned, unexpected
Yeah.
lunch stop. I would call that a
Good Lord, that's a gracious pour. Well, when you said we can either go to a restaurant and have something to eat, or we can gas station it, in my mind, we were way ahead of schedule. Like, it was noon. Ooh, what a great sound. What a great
that's
sound.
gonna be a drop. That is going on one of these buttons right
I thought
here.
about that when you opened it way over there off mic. I was like, that would have been so good to do right here. But when you said we can gas station it or we can hit up a real restaurant, I was thinking, well, I brought like a package of crackers, and I think I might have a package of Spam or tuna or something like that. So I didn't really bring anything for lunch. So I was like, I'm down for some food. So, and to get a beer
That was,
on top of
I mean,
it.
that was a big bonus. I
Yeah.
did not expect that place to be
Yeah.
open, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when I pulled the first, because it has 2 sets of double doors.
right.
I guess the other one was for the creamery,
The
the ice cream place to the right,
That was the one that said pizza on the right. The ice cream was in
weird.
the middle, and then
which is the one we went through.
I don't
So weird.
I don't know. And the open sign was at the pizza, but it wasn't open.
It wasn't on, yeah. We
So-
should have told Brian.
It's all. It's,
Anybody, your open signs are on. That's why.
let's
That's
keep
why
the
this
crowds
place
low.
is JFK up in here.
let's keep the crowds low
Yeah.
and intimate. But it was a win.
It was good.
It was a win.
It was quite a treat.
And
This weather's going to make for great sleeping weather. This weather partnered with the whiskey. It's gonna
the whiskey's gonna make.
make for great sleeping weather. I'm going to get rocked to bed in my hammock.
And I'm gonna YouTube you shotgunning that Delta 9 can. So.
No, not going to happen.
Pro tip.
From Rich
On the way
Walshman.
home in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
you can combine those 2 items by stopping at Sportsman at the Excellent there in Sanger.
I saw that place.
We went right by. That's,
we went right by
were
there.
routed to go by Sportsman.
Yeah.
They make a good breakfast.
Do they
Huh.
really?
Okay.
What kind of breakfast do they make?
Order whatever you want.
Well, I'm just
Pancakes.
like
I would get
the pancakes.
eggs, and
Are
bacon.
waffles on there?
Don't know that.
French toast.
So they have like a full-blown kitchen.
They
or
got-
full-blown breakfast situation. Huh.
Mm.
And they sell gas.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Might need some gas for his e-bike. Does it run on petrol or is it a Mr. Fusion?
It's on the charger right now.
Hell yes.
That's what was in my saddlebag for this trip.
That's the one thing you carried.
I had to carry the battery charger, man. All right, let's break this trip down a little bit because Brad and I had slightly disparate approaches to today's trip. Brad was bikepacking, genuine, with a hammock, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you brought everything you needed, right?
I brought a cook system. I brought dehydrated meal, clothing. Yeah.
Okay.
I brought everything except for a stool because I knew we were going to have a picnic bench here.
And what bike are you on today?
The Fargo,
The
only
Fargo.
one.
I understand. And generally speaking, is it safe to say you're a Revelate guy, or is there
Yeah.
a mix and match there?
No, every bag on there's Revelate.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Kevin opted for a slightly different approach.
Mm-hmm. Big surprise.
There's a method to my madness, though.
But is there?
There really is.
Okay.
I don't know that it's going to happen because I'm leaning to. Well, we'll talk about it in a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So what Kevin did, I brought my truck up here last night with all of my gear and extra for others that might show up, including a cooler with cold drinks that Brad has utilized.
Yeah, I'm not worried about an asterisk on my
I
participation here.
No, I'm making my point.
Do I still get the T-shirt for the ride?
Sure. I got an old Hanes somewhere. I don't know. But with all my gear, and I e-biked on my way up, but I am tent camping. But what I am tent camping with at the moment, anyway, my setup so far is just what I would use bikepacking, basically.
I love that when you set it up, you go, "This is my bikepacking tent." I go, "Oh, was that on your bike?" And you're like, "Well, no."
No, that's not what I said. This is my bikepacking gear.
Uh-huh.
This is my bikepacking gear.
Where does this fit on your bike?
When I'm bikepacking, it goes into bikepacking bags. When I'm car camping, it goes into here.
Mm.
When I'm any other kind of, so this is my go box.
Mhm.
This is my primary box.
Is that
Whatever
your bug out box?
it is, my bug out box. This is my box. It's basically got my bikepacking gear and a lot of spares
Mhm.
because Rich has been on a few of these trips.
Mm-hmm.
We've done some Spinistry bikepacking ish trips.
Mm-hmm.
With Spinistry somewhat support along the way, including food and maybe tents if people didn't have them and things like that. And even the people that have their own stuff, notoriously somebody forgets something or something breaks or something gets lost. So I've got spares and stuff like that in this kit as well. But when I go bike packing myself, I just pull my stuff out, put it in bike packing bags and go.
Yeah.
But if I'm going out exploring, I almost always carry this with me in case something goes sideways and I need to camp somewhere.
You got room and board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Actually, I wouldn't have thought of that, to just bring it even when you're just out scouting.
It's actually
It's a great parachute.
I've used it once.
Yeah. But you were happy to have it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've used it once on a semi-optional. It's like I probably could have gotten by without it, but it was like, you know what? I'm just going to make camp and not worry about it for the rest of the night. But when I'd been doing my Big Bend exploring, doing my Rocky Mountain exploring, this is always with me at a bare minimum.
That makes sense.
And also, even when I take the camper, well, once my wife started camping in the camper, things changed. But when the camper was mine and Jan and the dogs weren't joining
Let's
me.
be fair, it was always yours.
Y'all's. Not anymore.
Y'all's.
Not anymore. It's ours now.
Yeah.
It is, and I love camping with the wife
She
very
doesn't
much.
listen. She doesn't listen. You don't have to butter.
But when I used to go camping in the camper by myself, I took this and what was in the drawers of the camper, and I was good to go.
And a case of baby oil. Two. Did you see Chappelle's stand-up where he said, I've never thrown away a single bottle of baby oil? Like, one bottle of baby oil is a lifetime supply.
Okay,
He's like, what is this guy doing with 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
Okay, I get following the logic now. So I am tent camping, and I actually went to my fallback of my old Alps mountaineering one-man tent that I started recommending, I think, in 2017 or so.
It looks palatial.
It's a one-person tent.
So much room for activities.
Hey, there's room up top.
Okay.
There is.
Is there a pole in there?
There's occasionally.
Oh, goodness.
As long as there's not too much scotch involved. But so yeah, I am tent camping, and the current plan at the moment. Current plan is Brad's gonna pack up and bike pack on home tomorrow, weather permitting. Is it weather only that's a factor in that, or are there other things that might come into play?
If the weather works, I'm doing it because
Okay.
I want the hours and I want the miles.
Understood.
And our chances are looking better as the minutes pass.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that trend continues. The majority of the rain is supposed to come early.
What's Rich asking me?
You're not riding home?
How's he going to get his truck home?
Ride halfway, come back at the truck. Drive.
Oh.
Well, and that's what we're about to talk about. What Kevin's.
Why are you stepping on his story?
Because it's going in a really bad direction.
Have you met my friend Kevin?
Nobody loves me.
Not true.
So
It's a different kind of love.
My original plan was to most likely hop in the truck and go back to Brad's and then get on the bike and go backwards on the route for tomorrow and meet Brad and then
I like that even better.
Then finish at Brad's.
I hadn't even thought about that.
That was kind of my plan A. I'm leaning towards.
Can you give me an 18-mile-an-hour lead out for the first 12 miles? Can we have a neutral start?
Well, now I'm kind of leaning towards the concept, weather permitting, and not too much scotch tonight.
There's only one bottle.
Exactly. Of potentially packing up in the morning and taking my truck to the front parking by the ranger station and just riding to your house at least and have my wife come pick me up there, or maybe even ride all the way home. But that's probably too much and we'll see how my knees feel when I wake up in the morning as well.
That would be dope.
Because I had a good time riding with you today.
It was good stuff. It was good stuff. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but the wind kind of limited conversation. So
I'm not a talker when I ride, generally speaking.
I like to chat and ride.
Here and there, but well, because my skills suck so much, I need to focus.
You do need to fix your Blinky though, where it you can't see it at all.
Well,
because your seat bag.
It's because of this, and again, going to the bag was kind of an audible.
Yeah.
Because I forgot to put the charger in the truck, which I planned to do originally. So
so you could just ditch the seat bag tomorrow.
I can ditch the seat bag tomorrow.
That's fair.
Is kind of the idea. So what Brad's talking about, I have a Varia on my seat post, which I use it primarily for the radar. I don't lean on it. And as the radar, it was working fine today.
Yeah.
I don't lean on it for the Blinky. But so I guess if I'm hearing you correctly, in your opinion, my Arclight pedals aren't enough rear Blinky?
No, honestly, your pedals on the ball of your foot more, which is where it's supposed to be, but you deep heel.
Well, no, my pedals aren't on the foot because I'm doing the center arch thing like James talked to us.
But you drop your heel, so your heel actually covers up.
So I am covering
a lot of the time.
Okay,
yeah.
That's news to me. So that's good. That's good feedback.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So there were, in fact, on that Western Center stretch, when you got ahead of me and you were in the left turn lane and you were turning left, I was looking at you like, how is anybody seeing him? Because I didn't see any blink.
Okay.
And so that's when I pulled up to you and said, hey, your Blinky's not on, forgetting about your pedals altogether.
I understand.
And you said, but my pedals are working. And I go, I hadn't seen them. Because maybe it was the vantage point because I was slightly higher than you because it was a little downhill.
Statement of the year.
No, it was slightly downhill to that turn off of Western Center onto.
I follow completely,
Yeah,
and that's a fantastic revelation.
You're not heels up pedaling like this. You're more of a deep heel pedaler.
Rich wants to interject once more.
Full disclosure, your Blinky is optimized for low-flying aircraft.
Yeah. Did you turn it on?
He's talking about the angle. The angle.
Well, so
Rich is critical. Oh, so you said you got a new Blinky. What Blinky did you get?
Hell, I don't know. I paid way too much for it though.
How much?
It's a $20 Blinky.
No, it was $50.
Okay.
So this is the one Caleb's talked about on one of our podcasts, and he's like, "I'm going to get Gabe to get both of us one," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Gabe called me and he's like, "Hey, I have your Blinky," and I was like, "Okay," and I showed up and I was like, "How much to owe you?" And he goes, "Well, it's $50." I was like, "What the fuck? Does this thing have Wi-Fi? What are we doing?" But it apparently has a very long life, and it's wicked bright, and it's got 20 different settings. I'm not smart enough to use all of them.
I follow.
But I mean, I like it, but I'd rather have a radar. I'm super radar curious after today, especially like forecasting into rat.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you, how long does your charge last, and do they make one that runs off a battery?
No, I get it. So, like I was saying, I have the Varia for radar. I don't even consider it as a Blinky.
Yeah.
I know the Blinky function is there. Don't get me wrong.
So there's the question. Do they make a radar without a Blinky?
They do.
Okay.
You have that, don't you?
Okay.
Rich has that version.
Yeah. Because that Blinky's.
It's not human visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to lean on the Varia Blinky, and that's why I'm saying. So if my pedals aren't doing the trick, that tells me I do want to go ahead and get a seat stay mounted myself as well, because I'm all about being lit up like a fucking Christmas tree.
Will your radar not work if it's on the seat stay, or will the tire interfere?
No, it's got to be pretty much vertical.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
And like I said, in my mind, I only use the Varia for radar. I don't even consider it a Blinky.
That's fair. But there was no point today where I was behind you and I could see that thing.
No, that I get. That's because that's the downside of the Varia. You don't want to hang it. You don't want to hang it on a saddlebag, a bikepacking saddlebag.
Yeah, because it's going to move.
It's going to move. The angle's never going to be right.
Yeah.
And then it's just a blinky at that point, which that's not what the function of it is.
So I noticed, I mean, obviously, it's more than obvious. You were way more aware of all of the vehicles behind us today. And I was like, God, that's pretty badass. Like, I've never ridden with the radar before like that. I've ridden with numerous people, and you were super verbal about it and let me know every time, to the point where not bad, but it became annoying.
Annoying. I get it.
But
it's a habit.
Yeah, but in the same realm, I was thinking it would be cool if this just showed up on my head unit, you know? So if it was
Which
mine.
Actually, it could.
Yeah. Well, yours does, right? How do you get alerted?
No, but it can show up. Mine can show up on your head unit.
Oh, shit. Why didn't we do that?
Because I don't know Garmin, and
Could have saved my life.
he just threw down his empty beer can in disgust in a very theatrical. I wish I had video rolling for that one. It was perfect.
I didn't even know that was so we can send it to two different.
I can send it to a whole group, right?
So if you were on a group ride, you could literally tell.
If I'm bringing up the rear, everybody else can watch my radar, but you still have to stay basically together.
Yeah, for sure. Huh? That's cool.
So my guess is all you have to do is just
pair it.
Add a sensor.
Yeah, you just pair it, add a sensor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that being said, the whole reason I started with my questions, other than pedantic, when we got to camp, was I'm radar curious, especially leading up to Rat. I think that I want something like that on the Rat.
Do the Varia.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Chinese knockoffs that are coming out these days.
Did you watch the Taipei Cycling Show? Everybody has a radar right now.
If you watch the GP Llama and the DC Rainmaker stuff from all the off brands, that none of them compare to. They all have their issue. Even I think I'm not going to throw a particular manufacturer under the bus that has their own brands regularly, but none of them work right. So far, it seems like and you know how much anti-Garmin is maybe not is too strong, but I'm not a big Garmin fanboy.
I'd say you're a late adopter.
Well, I was an early adopter, which fouled me to Garmin to begin with. But the Varia, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it's the only way to go. Don't get me wrong. If something else comes out, I'll be the first to say, hey, this one's just as good. Nothing. Yeah. Right now, I would not recommend any others to anyone.
That's fair. I mean, that's on my list for sure.
It's a worthwhile. It's the hugest peace of mind I've had. Well, okay. I know you've ridden with me since I've been run over, and when I tried to come back from being run over, and I think you've seen how uneasy I've been in those environments. Make no mistake, I am still uber aware of what's going on around me, to the point of being annoying, calling out car back. So,
I didn't mean it was annoying.
I'm super aware. And that's what I'm trying to say. And and from what I've been through, I pass that awareness on to others. Yeah. And I realize to some it's overkill. I get that, but it's like I would rather err to that side as opposed to.
Well, there was one stretch that you were behind me, and you were like, car back. And I was like, I'm just going to assume they're going to keep coming, you know? And so it was a pretty busy stretch. I think it was Mash Branch.
And that's the when that, and yes, that was when it, and that's an indication of, so what shows up on my head unit, usually is if there's multiple cars, you'll see it'll show three separate cars.
Yeah.
In this particular instance, because I think it was slight rollers or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
It would only show one.
Yeah.
One would go by, and then
there would be another one.
There would be another. Okay, there's another one. So if there's three,
It was like 8 in a row, though.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm just going to assume they're going to keep coming. You don't have to keep telling me, Kay.
Usually you can say car back and there's 3 more or something like that. Usually it shows you how many there are. In that particular instance, it was showing 1 at a time.
Yeah.
And then one would go by and, as soon as that one there's another one.
Yeah.
Shit.
They were perfectly spaced. It was almost frustrating.
And to me, it was frustrating not because there was traffic per se. It was frustrating because I think I mentioned it. The last time I had ridden through that area, I wouldn't call it dead, but it was much more active than when I had been on a weekday, because that's usually when I ride stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday, and it was like really busy considering what that stretch of road normally is.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably the most traffic we encountered. Like, even when we were on 922, when we got on there and I go, I hate this stretch of road. But it wasn't bad. I forgot how big the shoulder is. The shoulder was great until we went over one of those bridges.
Got to the guardrails.
Yeah. But I was confused with another stretch of road. I think I may have been thinking of a completely different area. But it wasn't bad at all. But you also misspoke when you said it's a short.
I
stretch.
I did.
Yeah.
It's a short stretch when I'm in my truck putting out arrows at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. Because it was like a mile and a half. I was like, this is not a short stretch.
I was confusing a couple of rights and ups.
Yeah, it's okay.
Myself, but I think
as he gestures a left turn.
I said right and up.
Oh, okay.
But I think there is actually more shoulder than there used to be there. I think that's part of the equation. Also, more than likely, at least one of the times you rode that section was probably a midnight massacre when there were a bunch of people on that stretch, and it's higher traffic through there on weekends and evenings because of the lake stuff and things like that. So
very fair.
I think that stretch was actually better on a Tuesday afternoon.
It wasn't as bad as I recall. I've ridden that stretch multiple times in both directions, and like I was telling you, so that Chisholm Road, when you're going the opposite way. So we came where we met Rich, and we stood there on the corner for a second. When we came the opposite way, and we turned left right there by the marina and all that or whatever. And that place that's tried to be a restaurant 15 times or whatever. Well, when you carry on, there's right before, because that road kind of meanders, and then it looks like a multi-family house that's on the left. There's an entire garage and a front door on both sides and a garage on this side. So right after that, that's where that road changes. If you're headed the opposite direction that we carried today. When we were doing it, it's when the lake was at flood stage, and I think it's 377 that goes into Tioga, was actually like that bridge was maybe a foot underwater, and we rode across it to go to Clark's. But when we were coming the opposite way, we rounded that corner right after that multifamily house that I'm talking about, and we ran into floodwater, and we were like, should we just carry on? Because it used to be a park area, I believe. Like, it had the old rail next to it. Like it was a park.
It wasn't. It's not a park, but I think the either Corps of Engineers for the lake is blocked. It's not a park per se. It's just designated.
But it had an old, like, rusty rail.
Yeah,
it
had the rail fence, and lots of people used to do fishing and stuff through there, and other things that we won't talk about.
But we came on. We got there, and we're like, I think we were like waist high, knee high.
Man,
we were like, should we keep going?
Well, between what you're saying there and 377, that must have been the high point of the lake, because I never saw any of those.
Yeah, it was flood stage. It was I can't remember what year it was. It must have been like 17, 18.
That was probably,
But we came around one of those corners when that road was much smaller than it is now, because now it's wide and
That's
beautiful.
That's well, I don't know. I'm not going to call it beautiful because I liked it in its much more rustic state myself.
But we came around the corner.
Yeah.
And there was I can't remember if it was a horse or a cow. I think it was a horse. And it was dead and bloated. And we were like, I don't want to be in this water anymore. And so we turned around and we rerouted. So, but that was it was weird because I didn't recognize it coming the other way because the road had completely changed. And then
even since then, more than likely, like that one creek crossing that we did, it's now a concrete low water crossing, almost a bridge. You probably didn't even, it used to be a rough, bare rock creek crossing, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But,
I do recall that.
But, I think it's me. This wind blows.
It's actually calmed down a lot.
A little bit. Or I've already had too much scotch. Rich is such a bad influence.
He is a bad influence. I wish he'd get me another beer. Please.
If there's two, grab me one too, because I don't need another scotch after this one.
Shop for two. Put the lid on, genius.
But do not grab that Delta 9 drink, whatever you do. No. Well, you can take it home with you. So, all right. So, the route home for you tomorrow. A lot of similarity, but I tried to mix it up as much as I could.
Yeah, I didn't even look.
If you look at the route now, you'll see where it does go. But it will be.
But it's shorter.
It's a little shorter than today, but it will be probably more time going into. If it is a west wind, it'll be more headwind, but it's probably a lesser wind than what we had today.
Well, like I told my wife, I was like, going to be tired, probably go to sleep shortly after dark, wake up with the sun, have some coffee, have some breakfast, and roll out. So, weather permitting.
So what time are you shooting for to be home? What do you need? Because you got to go shopping.
I got to shop.
You got a dinner this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Is the dinner full?
No, I have 6 spots open. I'm kind of wham about it, but it's okay.
What is there a theme for this weekend?
It's a whole new menu, and then
is it centered around anything?
No. Oh shit, that reminds me.
Because we might be able to make this weekend, but
I could give you a Club Spinistry discount.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah.
What? No, I am writing an entirely new menu.
Is it dairy heavy?
It could not be. I haven't written said menu yet.
if it's not dairy heavy, there's a really good chance we might be able to make an appearance.
I could sway it to not be dairy heavy. But no, I've got let's say I've got 5 to 6 courses plotted. So I wanted, you know how you always say weather's a factor.
Yep.
I like to make my menu reflect the weather too.
Yep.
So typically I have
the season or the weather. Yeah.
Well, like this weekend, Saturday, the high is 60 degrees as it stands right now.
Okay. So
I don't want to serve a cold soup when it's 60 degrees. I don't want to serve. There's things that I want to do. Like if it's 60 degrees, if it's an unseasonable high of 60, I want to serve a warm soup coming in. I like to set the mood, but I also there's no way there's only one beer.
If there is,
and
it's Brad's. If there's only one, that's fine.
No, it's okay.
No, it's perfectly fine.
There's a Delta 9.
Bring that for him.
I don't know what it is.
This is the best beer that's come out of that ice chest.
I understand. It's Celebration Ale, Sierra Nevada.
You sure I can have this?
I'm positive.
I earned it.
You damn sure did.
That's one of the things I was thinking about today. not to take away from anything that was done with you on your bike today, but we often talk about I burned too many matches, and matches equate to calories, right? Watts spent, power produced.
Indirectly, but yeah.
But I would be very interested to know how many calories you burned today versus how many calories I burned. And it's not fair because we had a tailwind, so I burned less calories than I should have anyways.
Okay.
But I was thinking about that particular thought process, like, yeah, you let up a lot of times. You let off the gas to wait for me, you know? But I'm still wondering, we covered the same amount of ground. I'm wondering what the disparity in calories spent is, you versus me. Because there's got to be one, right? I mean, there's
sure.
no way you burned exactly as many calories as I did. I mean, even if you were on a regular bike and I was on a regular bike, you wouldn't burn the same amount of calories.
We wouldn't burn the same amount of calories, but definitely I was riding e-assist today.
Yeah.
So I was still shooting for my target heart rate, but there were definitely times I was below my target heart rate.
Yeah.
So were you following your heart rate today?
Yeah, I was trying to stay in zone 2, literally, and I did.
Okay.
I was in zone 2 like, I don't know, 85% of the time.
And when you
something
weren't
like
in zone 2, were you in zone 1 or were you in zone 3?
Zone 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was not in zone 2, I was in zone 1.
Yeah.
So just right there.
Kind of the inverse almost. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. So I mean, yeah, there's no way I burned anywhere near as many calories as you did today. Oh, also, I'm sure Texas State Parks isn't listening to us, but if they come by, this needs to be low. So
Yeah, keep it low. Keep it low.
you're our watch. You're our guide.
They don't care.
They do.
You know, it's one of those rules that they put in place
No,
to enforce
I've been-
enforce if you're being a dickhead.
No, I wish that were the case because
really?
I'm never a dickhead.
Highly debatable.
Damn, there is no love in this state park for.
Let me get Jan on the line.
But anyway, you definitely burn more calories than me.
Well, and it's not.
There's no doubt about that.
That's I
What do you think
didn't.
the difference might be?
I don't know. That's why I'm curious. Like, and I didn't bring this up to
I understand that
throw
completely.
shade or anything.
I get that completely.
It was just, you know how many thought process you have while you're riding that far. I literally thought, like, you know, over the course of 50 miles, I don't know how many calories I burned. And obviously, our electronics are fucking stupid. They tell you this number, and it's arbitrary at best.
I never look at the calories burned number from any of them. Like I never look at the elevation number from any of them.
And the only way I look at them is I look at multiples.
But
you know,
along those lines, again, going back to the heart rate, if we both broke down our heart rate zones, if they were appropriate for us, if we had our zones plotted properly, if you spent 80% of your time in high zone 2 and I spent 80% of my time in low zone 2, and then your other 20% was low zone 3 and my other 20% was high zone 1, we could pretty much approximate that. And that would be my guess as to kind of where our differences were today. You were probably higher zone 2, I was probably lower zone 2 for most of the day. When you were outside of it, you were in lower zone 3 and I was in higher zone 1. And fair to say you probably did roughly 50% more work than I did today.
I was going to say a third. Like a third more calories burned.
I think a third to 50% is probably fair.
It was just one of those mental masturbation things that I was thinking about while we were riding.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I hate to think that we were both thinking about masturbation things at the same time over the same thing.
Mental masturbation.
But still,
I was just thinking,
we're going to chase Rich off. He's getting disgusted by us.
But I don't know how the thought stemmed, but I was like, I wonder what if we had a real count of how many calories you burned and how many calories I burned, and we traveled the same course, it would be curious.
That's
you know.
but see that's the magic fitness evaluator that they're all trying to they're all trying. They're all the wearables that are out there. They're wanting that magic. Here's the actual calories you burned today, or whatever the right metric is.
But see, even heart rate, heart rate's very individual, and your caloric burn is very individual.
But
and it's age based too.
No, that's why I was talking about if each of our heart rate zones were accurate.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. I don't think either of us know.
Yeah, I think you'd have to go through a litany of tests, in a scientific environment, and have someone evaluate all the numbers. Science. Because, I ride next to Caleb.
Hey, Dylan, look us up, man. Tell us how stupid we are.
What's your FTP, bro? But, I ride next to Caleb sometimes, and I'm working hard, and he's kind of working. And my heart rate's 150, and his is 120. And think about what this dickhead's heart rate is.
92. And he's blowing up.
Yeah. So, think about this. If his heart rate's 92 and mine's 140, does that mean he's burning way less calories than I am?
No. That's why I was saying if you have your zones,
all these numbers just get convoluted. It doesn't. So it was just one of the things I was thinking about while we were riding.
Why is Rich texting me?
I don't know. This is worse than my wife texting me from the room next door.
Send that to?
You and Brad. You gotta listen to it. It's quite interesting. His estimate would be you guys were within 200 calories of each other today.
Really?
And who is this?
Oh, some MD.
Okay.
Oh.
So Rich sent us a podcast link for somebody that's telling us that we, based on something, Brad and I were within 200 calories of each other.
So I would be astounded if that's true.
I would as well.
Listen to that podcast. You have 2 hours.
No.
You're riding tomorrow. What are you gonna
That's
do tomorrow?
true. That's true.
Do we need to charge your aftershocks?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because I brought electricity.
I literally turned them off. I turned them off early so I would have something to listen to while I was riding by myself.
Did you bring the right
tomorrow.
charger cord?
No, I didn't bring a cord at all.
Are yours USB-C or do they have that funky aftershocks one? Because I don't.
It has a Garmin style charger. Was it micro?
I have one.
I think I've got one of those too.
That would be cool.
All right, we can charge your
But
aftershocks.
I literally turned them off. I don't know, 15 miles out, just so I would have something to listen to tomorrow.
Understood.
Because I was like, this is awesome, but I want some of this tomorrow in case I ride.
What were you listening to?
Music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, music.
Okay. Anything besides Kevin?
No, I was listening to music.
I play.
But I would be astounded if there was only a 200 calorie discrepancy over 50 miles. That would be staggering to me because
I wasn't working as hard as you. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. There were many times where I was trying to stay in my zone, trying to manage my effort, and you would just walk away from me, and it was apparent from your body language that you weren't working near as hard as I was. And I was like, and so that's where I think the calorie thought started happening.
No, I get it.
And I started thinking about, we always say, oh, I burned too many matches. And then I started thinking, well, matches are basically you only have so much energy to expend. And then I started thinking, well, you obviously have more matches if you're not burning as many matches. And then I started thinking, well, it's all calorie based. You can only take in so many calories and you can only expend so many calories.
But that's where I keep defaulting to the endurance heart rate model.
Yeah.
That's where my personal focus is, whether I'm on an e-bike or a traditional bike, is I want to be in this range when I'm pedaling.
Same.
And that's what I've determined my appropriate range is if we went to the proper doctor or scientist or lab or whatever else, my numbers may be way off from what I really should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tricky. How do you determine what that real number is?
Here's the other question. You put water in your bottles.
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
Did you take in any calories other than our stop?
I had 1/2 of a fig bar today.
Okay. So I ate a full-blown, old-school, white-glazed honey bun on my way to get you. 710 calories.
Understood.
Black coffee, and then I had a Fairlife, which is
I had a cup of coffee this morning.
but it's black. There's 0 calories.
Right.
And then I had a Fairlife, which is a premixed protein shake. It's 150 calories, and I don't know how much protein's in there.
Right.
I think it's 30 grams. But then I drank 3 bottles
Of
Tailwind on the way here, 200 calories per bottle. So 600 calories. Then I proceeded to eat half a pizza.
And 2 beers.
And 2 beers. And you had 2 pieces of pizza and 1 beer. And you had 0 calories in your bottles.
Correct.
So, I mean, that right there, like, I took in literally 3 to 4 times as many calories as you did.
Understood.
So,
One of you is going to gain weight.
Rich says one of you is going to gain weight. But, okay, that's a conscious effort on my part. I need to operate at a caloric deficit.
not when you're expending effort.
But, no, again, if I'm staying within my heart rate zones.
You don't bonk? You don't. How do you not cramp?
I've never been much of a cramper. That
is like a gene thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Some people are predisposed to cramping.
Nobody really knows. So,
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, you're cramping, you need more salt." It's not that simplistic. There's a lot more to it.
That's one aspect.
I don't tend to cramp until my muscles are truly tired and overextended.
Well, and that's just somebody that doesn't train enough and goes out. Like if you just rode 10 miles and then all of a sudden you try to ride 70 miles, you're going to cramp,
Not necessarily. And that's why
a lot of people.
And that's everybody's genetics are different. Everybody.
You don't say.
Yeah. Some people are slow twitch oriented. Some people are fast twitch oriented. And basically, I'm one of those big square guys.
Yeah.
That I got a lot of natural muscle tissue. That I am one of those people that.
You are a thick-legged boy.
I bulk up very easily.
Yeah.
And I was when I've worked out in the past, I used to lift weights, and but it wasn't to be a bodybuilder. That was my exercise, and I could lift for 3 weeks, and I would bulk up tremendously in 3 weeks, where other people are trying to do that over 6, 9, 12 months.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I went down this kind of rabbit hole thought process today about calorie expenditure in, e-bike, because like it's not fair. Like today, I'm on an analog bike and you're on an e-bike. So I felt most of the time like I'm holding you back. And I also had some empathy for you, thinking, well, I'm stringing him out, and
I never felt that way.
Well, but I didn't know that because I'm in my own mind.
Well, you said something about that earlier, and I said, no, you do you. I'm fine.
Yeah, but it made me think of, like, when Shannon and I talk, we're like, it's the same thing, like pre-e-bike discussion. It was, if you're on a geared bike and I'm on a single speed, it doesn't jive. I'm working harder most of the time on a single speed than you are on a geared bike. And so it's like, how do you regulate the ride? And then my thought went to, well, when we're all on e-bikes, then, like, if I was on an e-bike today, we would have been pushing the pace a lot more, and we would have got here a lot faster. it would have been a different story.
Okay.
So it was
but
just
I could be wrong.
it's a bunch of fragmented thought processes.
No,
I'm sorry, I'm not articulating
No,
it well.
I get it. I get it completely.
Yeah.
But along those same lines, if we were equalized, so to speak,
Yeah.
it would have been just the same as if we were equalized on a traditional bicycle. And just like when we did our 100-miler
Yeah.
last fall,
Yeah.
where you did the 100-miler, I ended up doing 78 or whatever it was, and you got tired of waiting on me. If we were equalized on e-bikes, you would have run into the same thing today, and you would have left me an hour behind you.
I wasn't mean when I left you on that.
You were not mean.
Okay.
I told you.
Okay.
Do your and and that's what.
I just want to clarify it for the listeners. I didn't go, fuck you, I'm leaving.
Well, you kind of did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you really did.
No.
No, he didn't. That's my point. Is I am one of those, and I think Rich maybe is kind of a similar mindset. I could be wrong. Just ride your own ride.
Yeah.
Ride your ride. I don't give a flying fuck about what anyone else. Don't get me wrong. If we're able to, and that's what I liked about the e-bike today, we were able to spend time together.
Yeah.
Whereas last fall, after the first hour and a half, we didn't spend any time
a bunch
together.
of leapfrogging.
And even realistically, that was you being patient with me for 60 minutes of that hour and a half.
Somebody's got to. Come on, Kevin. Yeah.
I can ride my ride.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to ride their own ride. That's
a tough thing for a lot of people to understand.
Well, that's the thing. This is a promoter perspective. This is not a Kevin perspective as a rider. This is Kevin as a promoter perspective. Way too many people get caught up in trying to ride other people's rides, particularly on endurance stuff, particularly on multi-day stuff.
Particularly in the first 5 miles.
Justin.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but now that you brought it up, you know what's funny is in his last video, he actually addressed that. He goes, this was I can't remember his exact verbiage, but he was like, this is very typical of me. I went really hard and then I had to draw back and then I kind of found my pace. And then, I mean, it was just, he's very cognizant of what's going on.
Sure he is.
So, but he's been riding strong.
Okay.
Strong.
Okay. And along those lines, I think way too many people get caught up in trying to ride other. And that goes back. This is why I do really, really encourage that focus on heart rates and riding within your own heart rate zones. But yeah, the trick to that is you got to figure out what that correct heart rate zone is.
And it fluctuates too.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's more advanced ways to go. As you get down the road, you can start looking at power numbers and things like that too. But a lot of people start with, oh, well, what's your FTP? Oh, well, your FTP is 250. My FTP needs to be 250.
I think the only time you should chase people is if you're on a group ride and you're trying to ramp up your ceiling, or if you're in a race and you think you have a chance to win, or you want to improve your time. You still not chasing people? Is that what you're saying?
Or if there's only N-1 beers in the cooler.
Yeah, it depends on how much food and beer's left at the end too.
I want to circle back to e-bikes because I want to tell you there is now officially an e-bike on my radar.
Okay.
We've talked about it before, but I've seen multiple reviews on it now. The Amflow is readily available now. I don't know if it's stateside. I haven't looked. I haven't brought myself to pull up the computer and look, but I've watched a couple of reviews of, so they have an aluminum version, aluminium, if you will, and they have the carbon version, and I've seen multiple like long-term reviews of it now. And I think if I was going to get an e-bike, that is the e-bike. Much like our tent discussion, if I was going to get a tent, that is the tent that I was going to get. If I'm going to get an e-bike, that's going to be the e-bike for me right now.
I get that it is.
It's the bee's knees.
It's the shit as far as
and at the Taipei show, they had a couple of other bikes with that same motor in it now. So it's not just
Okay.
Amflow.
Okay. I would be curious. What is Rich doing?
That girl?
He's got your charger for you.
You're a good man, Rich. I don't care what your wife says about you.
So here's
Amflow. Soundtrack.
Yeah, back to Amflow. So here's my question about it from my understandings of Bradford.
I can't afford it.
No, I wouldn't go into that level. So if you're concerned about calories expended and things like that, and heart rates and actual training as far as...
It's still not charging, though.
Hold on. Hit the power button. There you go.
There she goes.
There you go.
We Gucci.
So why does the most powerful e-bike tickle your fancy at that point? Because you're going to be getting even less training benefit. Do you follow what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I totally understand. And although I wasn't ready for this question, I do have an answer. I think, like, if I'm going to ride an e-bike, I'm putting all that on the back shelf. And I anticipate riding with e-bikers.
Okay.
So I would not to fault you at all, but I would not buy an e-bike to ride with someone that's on an analog bike. My anticipation is to be with fellow e-bikers.
Yeah, but if you're still a step ahead of them.
Because I think that's where, so things are going to progress. I think that is kind of the next step. And I think if you get in there, you're already a step ahead. And then I think things are going to progress even further than that. I mean, e-bikes are only going to get lighter and stronger and faster. It's inevitable.
Maybe.
Well, I still don't understand how fucking backwards battery progression is right now. I mean, we've been promised batteries that are the size of this can that can power everything.
So what the e-bike market seems to be up against right now, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. What the e-bike market seems to be up against right now is that next generation of technology is well outside the budget of what people are willing to spend on e-bikes.
Yeah,
is ultimately what it boils down. So the 90% of the e-bikes sold are still competing with traditional bikes. They're still $2,000 or less.
Well, but it's a barrier for entry, right?
But e-bike riders aren't N+1 riders.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around.
A 2020, let's call it a 2026. Let's go into the future a little bit.
Yeah.
A 2026 e-bike rider, to spend $2,000 on an e-bike, they're like, that's a fuck ton of money. And they expect that $2,000 e-bike to be their forever bike. They expect that to be their titanium Fargo.
So here's the thing that's interesting. I think it's unrealistic for anybody to think that any bike is going to be a forever bike. But with an analog bike, I think it could be. I mean, how old is this red line on the back of Rich's?
What did he say it was?
1990? Yeah. So think about this. You bought your e-bike in 2024, 2023?
24.
1990. That's 35 years? Where the fuck is that bike going to be in 35 years? It's going to be in a landfill.
Sure. But I plan to get every bit of 5 years out of it. I'm hoping 10.
Of course. But I think that e-bikes are much like electric vehicles. They have a very finite life cycle.
Yeah.
Look what's going on with Tesla.
And that's true with the e-bikes too.
Yeah.
Okay. here's a perfect example of that. My 2018 Apple computer.
Mm-hmm. I just got rid of my 15.
The battery's shot on it.
Yeah.
Now, the battery works fine when it's plugged in.
That's not a battery.
No,
that's a transference of power.
I understand. The battery works fine when I unplug it and just use it unplugged. I get my 2.5, 3 hours of battery or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's fine. But now if I don't leave it plugged in and I shut the case, it's shut down, I shut the case, I put it away for 2 weeks, open it up, it's dead. And there's no fixing that. That's I have to go ahead and.
Can you not open it up and change the battery out?
No, not with not with a MacBook.
Huh. That's planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence. Planned
yeah.
obsolescence is essentially what. And when
I don't think that's the case with e-bikes. Essentially, I just think that they're going to.
It's not.
They're advancing so quick.
It's not planned obsolescence per se, but it's understood that this is a 5-year battery.
Yeah.
It's not a 20.
But you can replace the batteries on a lot of e-bikes. Some of them you can't.
Some you can, some you can't. But okay.
Some of them are completely modular.
And the batteries you can replace today doesn't mean you can replace those batteries 5 years from now because they may not be available anymore.
That's a very fair point. And that's what I'm saying. Like my Fargo, like foreboding it getting wrecked or someone running into it while it's on the rack or it cracking, I can strip that thing down and completely rebuild it with all new parts, much like he's talking about with his loft. It can be rebuilt.
Right.
Right. We can put a new headset in it, everything.
No, I get that.
And it could be a forever bike. I could ride that thing until I'm 75.
Right.
But an e-bike, I don't think that I have no aspirations of buying an e-bike today and riding that same e-bike 10 years from now.
You don't because you're bicycle educated.
Well, that's fair.
We're back to these people that are buying their first. Okay, I challenge you. This was a huge wake up moment for me over the past week, quite frankly. So I spent time at the IDB campground finding our campsite.
Yeah.
And there were every RV has e-bikes now. Everybody in an RV has e-bikes now.
It's a smart play.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And if you go around here tomorrow before you head out, you're going to see more
I didn't see any bikes.
Yeah.
I rode down. You took me the wrong way, by the way. I rode the long way to get to the restroom, which is right there. But whatever.
I just came that way. Like I told you, take a left at the stop sign.
Yeah, and you ride all the way back to there.
Just to right there.
No, it's over there. Either way,
I just
you're directionally challenged. It's weird that you put routes together.
A shower,
yeah,
dude. Yeah. I think
you drove. You drove with your fresh e-bike legs. You drove.
Fuck you.
I rode over there on my analog
But also,
bike.
while we were at Fort Richardson State Park, it was just nothing but I was the only person on a traditional bicycle there.
But I think that's a smart move.
I'm not.
Especially if you're.
My point is,
aged.
That is the new bike market. We're talking about what does it take to get people on bikes? Well, the people that are buying bikes right now are buying e-bikes.
But they're not buying bikes for the cycling aspect. They're buying bikes for cheap transportation. We're almost.
I'm not following. What do you think RV people camping at the state parks? What are they riding bikes for?
Cheap transportation.
No, they're in $200,000 mobile homes. They don't need a cheap transportation.
They do. They want something that is borderline disposable, so they can just tool around.
They don't think it's disposable. They think it's a forever bike.
Oh.
That's my point. They're spending $2,000 on an e-bike. They think they're getting something that's going to last. They're taking it out on the mountain bike trails here. They're taking it on the trail.
I would say that's a super low percentage of people that come and camp here and ride a pedestrian level e-bike on this trail.
They're riding that. I guarantee you they're riding that beginner loop. I guarantee it. Because
I'd say that's less than 10%.
But okay, that less than 10% of all the people that come here.
Yeah.
that less than 10% in the whole global bike industry things, that's tremendously larger than our little niche upon niche upon niche of people that are buying titanium ultra endurance bikepacking bikes.
That is a fair point. That is a fair point.
That's where that's all I'm. That's where the bicycle market is going. Everything we talking about the
Well,
bike,
that's what I was saying on the last podcast about everybody makes an e-bike, and they all make. I mean, even the top end, like we were talking about Trek, they make an entry level e-bike. Well, there's
what we see as an entry level e-bike is what the majority of bicycle riders see as a high end e-bike.
But what I'm saying, well, but what. Stepping on my story. But what I'm saying is there are 100 Chinese companies that make entry-level e-bikes. I'm just saying that entry-level e-bike category is so convoluted.
No, I understand.
With 100
And these people that are
plus.
in these two, okay, like that Mercedes over there, that's every bit of
It's a Mercedes.
That's every bit of $150,000.
Yeah,
we're not even talking. We're not.
You know those things have wind correction?
Fantastic.
Do you even know what?
Go around the corner here, you're going to see a $300,000 RV.
Yeah, but no e-bikes.
Yeah, well, maybe this group doesn't, but everywhere else I've been.
They probably knew it was too windy.
Maybe. My point is, they're not going to buy that Chinese knockoff. They still want to buy the Trek or the specialized $2,000 e-bike because they recognize the name. They like the lifetime frame warranty or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but they don't see that as an entry-level bike.
Yeah. So the way I've always viewed bikes, aside from my Fargo is, I mean, call it pipe dream, but it literally is my forever bike. Like, I plan on having that bike for as long as it will suit me. As long as I can ride it, I plan on riding it.
Sure.
But when I buy an e-bike, that is not my thought process. And I know I'm in the minority.
We're back to, I'm not following why you're saying that's your e-bike, because A, it's an expensive e-bike,
but it's, relatively speaking, it's not.
What's the price point?
So
I thought it was a $10,000 bike.
The aluminum version is around $6,000.
Okay.
Which is not crazy. It's not. Why do you need carbon on an e-bike?
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I made a whole video about they have the carbon tributaries now. Why?
Yeah.
What's the fucking point?
It's not. There's not.
I've got a class 3 motor that goes to 28 miles an hour with a 60-pound bike.
You know what you can do with aluminum? You can weld it.
Well,
you know what you can't do with carbon? Weld it. You can patch it.
Yeah.
But
I understand. There's no true benefit to a carbon e-bike in my head.
No, because you can't.
For most people, in my head, there's no true benefit to a carbon mountain bike. But now I'm really going out on a limb there. I understand that. Full suspension.
Unless you're on the cutting edge. Unless you're at the top of the pack.
If you're a true pointy end of the racing field, yes.
Yeah. I agree. For once in my life, I agree with you, Kevin Lee.
Holy shit. Have another scotch or have another Sierra Celebration.
But I don't see the benefit to the carbon. The thing that happens between aluminum and carbon that we often overlook is the spec changes. So, yeah, you get a better frame, quote unquote, but you also get a better spec. You get better wheels.
The whole build out. I get that.
And so that's typically why I would entertain a carbon over an aluminum when it comes to like a Trek or a Specialized or Giant or something like that.
Yeah, but if there were similarly equipped aluminum version.
Well, a full suspension?
Yeah.
And the weight's comparable? I'm going aluminum.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
And even more so when you get to a full suspension e-bike, I'm going aluminum.
Agreed.
Because you're not gonna argue with me and tell me that the ride quality is better. I mean, when
once those tires get over 40 millimeter, there is no ride quality difference.
No, it's crazy. It's. I think it's a discussion that's probably unsaid at this point, and I think that we're going to start to see things shift. I think aluminum. In fact, you need to watch more coverage of the Taipei cycling show. There's so much interesting stuff. I kind of foreshadowed this, but there's so much good stuff that's about to come that is just kind of out there in the Taipei cycling show, and aluminum was one of them. Aluminum frame construction, and then there was one.
I mean, I've been talking up aluminum for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I've been fighting you. I've been mincing my words quite well on this, but I think, especially in the full suspension, like we'd start talking hardtails, I'm going to argue with you. Aluminum, not doing it.
No, steel.
Hardtail, steel,
Titanium.
Carbon if you're a racer boy.
If you're doing a hardtail mountain bike and you're not going to go steel or titanium, and you're running 2-inch plus tires, particularly if you're doing 2.3s to 2.6s,
Yeah.
there is no advantage of the carbon frame over an aluminum frame in a hardtail mountain bike at that point. Assuming comparable weight. If there's
Knee-jerk reaction, I disagree.
okay,
But I also, it troubles me because people talk about ride quality of frames and then they run a Thompson extruded straight aluminum post, and I'm like, you're just sending it straight to your spine. So
that's still different because that's a true flex point. That's a true flex point.
yeah, but the frame could be a true flex point too.
Now we're getting into carbon layups and everything like that.
Yeah.
And the intended flex, where a carbon seat post, which I'm still not a fan of I say this, I'm an aluminum seat post guy because I'm a cheap bastard. What the hell is that?
Rich is backing up.
But
Fat bastard. You fat bastard. That's one of the $300,000 RVs backing up.
Yeah, probably.
Backing over their e-bikes. Vic Dean.
The titanium seat post makes all the sense in the world to me. I say that I have yet to ride one myself.
Delicious.
But again, I'm not saying it's overkill.
But where did carbon seat posts go? I mean,
Are they not a thing anymore?
They used to be everywhere.
Because everybody broke their carbon seat posts.
Not a happy place.
No.
Not a happy place.
I had one all triangulate like that and almost go in the worst place possible. And
In your vagina?
was about to be.
Oh. About to convert.
Yeah. What's the word
But the thing about carbon
transitioning?
The thing about carbon versus aluminum is carbon kills low reverberation,
low frequency
vibration, and aluminum doesn't.
But 2.3-inch tires do.
That's fair.
Especially
when
that's my point.
Especially now that we're with tubeless and most people are running carbon rims and
the carbon frame for a road bike makes traditional road bike.
Mm-hmm. When you're running 28s or
30s at the most.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Once you start getting those tires over 40 millimeters, that carbon advantage from vibration dampening starts going away there. Once you get to 2-inch tires plus, it's almost gone.
So that makes sense. So you're saying like aluminum, no way on the road.
With road tire with with red over there,
Yeah.
with
That's an aluminum bike.
I understand. With 28 millimeter tires or less, I would not be happy with that.
What if you're running 80 PSI, though?
And then there's that.
I mean, what if you want to feel every pebble? And you're running aluminum dish, high dish wheels.
All right, yeah, I realize we're doing some inside joke stuff here, so let me elaborate a little bit. We ran it.
That bike needs to be repositioned on that bike rack so it's
Drive side
drivetrain
out.
and then you need to take a picture, and that needs to
That's
be
the cover.
picture.
That's the cover. Rich, go put your bike drive side out, please. So Rich was riding today what he calls Old Red. It's a 1990 Redline cyclocross bike, aluminum frame.
Mm-hmm.
He actually rode this bike in the 2014 ride across Texas on, he said 33s or 32s or something like that.
I can't remember. You'll have to ask him.
Undersized
He
tires.
said a lot of stuff.
That's true. But it is an aluminum frame. And
With aluminum wheels. Legit.
I agreed.
And an aluminum seat post.
And aluminum seat post, but with avid shorties. So it's got that going for it.
Yeah.
So this bike has skins on the wall. As Brad likes to say, it has a pedigree.
It does.
It did the race across Texas. Not the 1,000-mile version, probably the 900-mile version. Nothing to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. But that's the bike Rich was riding today for some reason. It's a triple with the 9-speed cassette.
That's a 27 speed.
And cantilever brakes. And, I mean, it's a classic. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I was fine with it. And then I did the tire squeeze thing.
Dude. You remember how in horror movies you would see the truck driver with the bat and he checks the tire pressure with the bat? There was one movie, I can't remember, but I felt like that when I thumped his tire and I almost hurt my finger. I was like, what?
That was the most... I haven't felt a rigid tire like that since I got rid of my... Since I actually converted that... Do you remember that titanium Colnago I had for... I think I rode that with you and Spears that one time.
It had the kick-ass top tube.
Yeah. And... I mean, that had the 22 millimeter, 110 PSI.
Mm-hmm.
I switched it to tubeless, and oh my God, that was life
Different
change.
ride altogether.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But these tires on Rich's bike at 80 PSI is
With tubes.
With tubes.
With tubes.
Hard as a rock.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't think it makes a difference what frame material you're on at that point.
Probably fast as fuck, though.
It's stiff.
Yeah.
It's stiff. It accelerates like hell that way, right, Rich?
You couldn't handle that, bud.
No, you're right. I couldn't handle it. There is no way I could handle that bike. That thing would vibrate my filling.
But
Those tires ping like teakwood.
yeah,
ping like teakwood. That looks like that might be a Ranger truck, maybe not. But
nothing but sodas here, boys.
that's right. But that is so. Is it fair to say that that's officially for sale now?
It is.
It is for it. So
It comes with 2 sets of wheels.
it comes with 2 sets of wheels, and it has a pedigree, and it is part of the Spinistry consignment shop now. Size 58. This is a classic. It has done the rat. It can do another rat, and by God, if you do another rat with it, I will give you.
The bike.
No, I will give you a 20. If you do the 2025 Rat 1000 on this bike, that Rich is going to sell to you for less than $300.
$299.
Hey, listen to this.
Sound more
If-
valuable, though. I don't-
If you complete the Rat 1000 on this bike in 2025,
So much scotch.
I will give you a 2026 Titanium Club Spinistry membership.
Oh,
That's exactly right.
that's commensurate. I like that. That's
That costs $300.
yeah. That's a That's like getting the bike for free.
That is like, or getting the titanium membership for free. Because we got lots of news coming out on that in the next week or two.
Oh,
So
shit.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Lots of cool
Just
stuff.
put that anywhere.
Are you sure Are you sure you're going home?
Do they still get their cap though?
If they get a titanium membership, they get the giveaway at that time,
At the gap.
whatever it may be. We only have a limited number of caps.
Mm-hmm.
So once those are gone, then we will move on to a new giveaway for our carbon and titanium members.
Why is titanium the top tier if aluminum is so great?
Because titanium's better than aluminum.
Is there going to be an E level?
I'm sorry?
Is there going to be an E level?
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Rich asked if there's going to be an E level. This one goes to E.
Rich will not be a Clubs Ministry member in 2026.
His money's no good.
He's going to be blocked.
I think you need to make aluminum the high level.
I think aluminum's the highest possible level for entry level. I think it's the perfect entry level.
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
Is there an aluminium level?
There is.
Yeah, there is. Okay.
Yeah, the way our aluminium level works, if you're not currently a member, if you sign up for an event, you get a trial membership.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of that event is a trial membership for that event. That's our aluminum level membership. If you decide you want to join a full 12-month Clubs Ministry membership at that point, you can take whatever you've applied to that trial membership. I'll give you a coupon code for that full amount, and you can pick the trial membership or the full membership level of your choice.
Sounds like a good deal.
I think it's a fair deal. Good deal
That's-
is relative. I think a fair deal is appropriate.
That's like getting a free ride and deciding you want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like tiptoe.
Well,
Yeah.
for example, so like if somebody's not a member right now and they want to check us out at the Red River Riot for their first Spinistry ride,
Can you imagine that being your first Spinistry ride?
I'm just saying. And a trial membership, the entry fee is $45.
Yeah.
That's the aluminum membership.
Yeah.
So if you go out there and you do the Red River Riot, you have a good time, you say, I want
more of this shit.
I need more of this.
Yeah.
You get that full $45 that you can apply to a $75 Club Spinistry membership.
So you're $30
So
and you're
it's-
in.
Yeah, it's still essentially the same as a free entry
Yeah.
because you got your membership and you got the Red River Riot.
But you're so involved in this whole thing, or I don't know the right word, but I can't imagine that. I've been riding with my boys. We've been riding some gravel, and I've never done a Spinistry event. And I roll up, and Red River Riot is my first event. I would be floored. Like, I think that people that haven't done some of the routes you put together, they don't understand what goes on, because it's just like the route you put together today, just on a whim. It was a badass route, but it's because you have this, much like I have a Rolodex of recipes, you have a Rolodex of routes, and you're just like, oh, we'll just do this. To you, it's nothing. To me, I'm like, this is fucking badass. You know, I mean, it's.
Well, thank you.
No, I mean, it's true, though. It's not ass-kissing.
No,
Yeah.
it's a sincere gratitude. And it's a very difficult thing to sell, for lack of a better term. And
Sure.
I'm not trying to turn it into a sale. It's a very difficult thing to convey.
Yeah, it is.
And the best I can come up with is show up for one of our rides at
Try it. You'll like it.
less, it's like crack. Just one hit.
Yeah.
You'll be on board.
Yeah.
But if I can get you to do your first Red River Riot in 2025 for half the price of anything else out there, realistically a fourth of the price of most things out there,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't think that's a bad demo ride.
What's the long route on Red River this year?
Oh 100. I want to say 100 miles, but I'm not remembering off. I say that because I've kind of switched to do mostly 75 as the top end, with exceptions, and Jack Sparrow is going to be an exception. I think Red River Riot is too. Let me just. I think we have 100 miles.
Do you have the sound on that, Rich?
No.
I was hearing weird.
I was hearing something weird too.
Sorry.
What were you playing? Were you playing Tetris over there? What was that?
But like, oh, I still hear it. No, I still hear it. So I was saying it wasn't you.
It might be mine.
But what I was going to say is, like, how much does Mid-South cost? That's 100 miles.
I want to say it's in the $120 range, but I don't.
I think it's more than that.
They get a lot more mud for their butt.
But Red River Riot happens like on the regular. When was the last time? When was the last time?
No. We're not going there.
I will tell you the last time I did Red River Riot, it was 120 something miles, and I did hide under a tree.
Oh yes, I do have a
from the hail.
All right, I have a 100-mile privateer qualifier. I thought I did. I wanted to make sure. I have a 100.
I thought you had a 100-miler.
Yeah, I thought I did. I wanted to make sure. And I'm getting confused because I popped in a couple of new rides just this week
and because Rich has been pouring whiskey.
And I have scotch in me. Somebody's a bad influence here, but I don't know who that would actually.
Who would have thought that Rich was the bad influence?
I know. Oh my God! You haven't heard my Rich bad influence stories? Oh, no. I have some stories. All right, Rich, leave that bottle of scotch. I have stories to tell Brad tonight. Oh my God! Yeah, Rich. For one, Rich way undersold the Ron Wadley Stillwell store. He way undersold that one. And yeah. Then there was
these are all inside stories. They're not going to do well on the podcast.
They're going to be terrible on the podcast, but I can cut them out if I want to, but I know I don't know that I will. What was what's our pass Weston Pass?
Oh fuck.
Was that the Colorado? What's that route?
That was our over the top route.
Over the top.
Over the top route. Oh my God, we chased off a couple good friends at that point. I don't think either have spoken to us. They were. Just by us talking about Dr. Gene Scott, they were harassed completely.
I don't even know who Dr. Gene Scott is.
I know. Eventually there will be one person that listens to this podcast and go, "Oh my God, they know Gene Scott." And
maybe 30 years from now,
when this
is archived and
well, and that's the funny part. So that kind of ties into part of why I like doing this as our 100th episode. For whatever reasons, and I know it's not me, because all of our content that has anything to do with bikepacking and multi-day stuff over time has crept to the top of our most popular episodes, except for the Dylan Johnson. Dylan Johnson's still the top episode. Obviously, that makes all the sense in the world.
Because he's got so many fanboys.
Oh, exactly. What, Rich, you have...
What about episodes 11 and 12?
Rich, you're not even top 10, buddy.
He may be. But
the episodes without Caleb do better than you.
Actually, Caleb's Unbound XL is number 3 right now.
Oh, really? Nipper?
Nipper's still up there.
Yeah.
Our number 2 episode is that Bikepacking Basics one I did. It was a shorter episode that I did solo. Here's what you need to do, the basics of bikepacking. And generally speaking, the feedback, the comments we get are more towards these type of adventures like we're doing today. And that's why I was really excited initially by that concept of Caleb had put together a second version of a trip he organized last year. What he calls it, Sacred
Springs. Yeah.
Sacred Spring. And
he totally dropped the ball last year, though.
How so?
We were camping with the entire running crew.
But that makes a great story. It was after the fact.
It was good. I have so many stories about that I'm not willing to share on here. But weather's always a factor.
Weather's always a factor.
So on our Saturday chill day, it rained. It was nasty. We went. I mean, there were great stories because we rode into Alford. We basically hung out at the laundromat for half of the day and drank beer and cut up, waiting for the rain to pass. And then we went back to the campsite and camped and hung out and drank more beer. And then we got up the next day and rode all the way back home. It would have been better had we had free range at the park and it not rained.
I understand that.
But you're right.
You ultimately have better stories because you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there for some of the first half of the story where y'all were at the truck stop and waiting for the weather to blow through.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm just now remembering this, but when we pulled up to the laundromat, we had left the Subway because we went to the Subway initially because we were like, we're going to ride into town and get some food. Went to the Subway and we're waiting, and then all of a sudden there's a break in the weather. So we're riding back through town and it starts cutting up again. So we turn in and we go to this laundromat that's right next to the grocery store is there. It's a Lowe's or I don't know.
There's some country grocery store.
Yeah. And this guy pulls up, country boy, and he goes, well, you guys messed up, didn't you? Or something to that effect. And I go, hey, no story ever started with, the weather was perfect when we took off. And he just looked at me like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
And it was true.
It's exactly true.
We got
it's
so many stories
true.
out of how fucked up the situation
was. That's my point. It's not an adventure until something goes wrong.
That's true. That's true. It's not an adventure until you go off of what is planned. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, our trip today, the adventurous part of it was stopping in Sanger and finding a new beer and pizza joint.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
The rest of it went pretty smooth and we had a good time.
Yeah.
But what's the kind of the highlight of the day? What wasn't in the plan?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I love a good Audible.
And then Rich showing up and bringing us scotch. That's a fairly...
The scotch was awesome. Rich being here, if we'd have just showed up and the scotch was in your truck, I'm kidding.
Going back, originally episode 100 was going to be Caleb's episode 2 of Sacred Spring.
Yeah.
Was the original plan. I got an email that, hey, we're doing Sacred Spring. What is going to be this coming weekend, whatever the dates are, first weekend of April.
5th.
Okay, thank you. And I was thinking about trying to find a way to tag along with Sacred Spring on the e-bike if I could, sort of thing. But then he laid out the weekend that he was looking at. I was like, man, that lines up perfectly with episode 100 week. That would be awesome to do episode 100 there. Since Caleb put that message out there, I thought you were already dialed in and this was the plan. And I was like, how about we do an episode 100 recording?
I love you, Caleb, but Caleb doesn't listen.
That's fine. I'm not throwing Caleb under the bus here. I'm just saying that lit a fire and I thought the pieces were perfect going back to...
And they would have been.
I want to, even though... we only talk about bicycles. If we were to only talk about bicycles with
aluminum bicycles,
only aluminum bicycles,
aluminium
that happen to go on multi-day adventures, I think there's not a downside to that.
Yeah,
myself, and so I was excited about the prospect of doing something combined with an overnight trip. And ran that idea by you last weekend, or last week when we did episode 99. And thankfully, Bradford was like, I could ride a bike with you and sleep with you and spoon with you in a tent.
That tent's not big enough for my big ass. I don't even know if I would want to be in that tent.
It's a bikepacking tent. It's a one-person tent.
It's not a bikepacking tent if you carry it in a truck.
But when I carry it on my bike, it's a bikepacking tent.
So tonight it's not a bikepacking tent.
Okay, fine.
You should have brought the bigger tent.
I did.
You should have set that up.
Well, I got to thinking about it. I was like, I haven't slept in this one in a while. Let's see how it sleeps these days.
May the force be ever in your favor.
Oh, you're a pain in the ass. But anyway, so plan 2 was the IDB trip.
Yeah.
And Brad, well, actually, plan 2 that I had in mind was actually a
Granbury.
Benbrook.
Benbrook, yeah.
Benbrook.
Same thing.
The idea was to do a true gramble around the Fort Worth Trinity trails.
That word's never going to stick.
Actually, it's catching on pretty well, actually.
It's not trending. I checked Twitter.
Okay, you go with that. The idea was to gramble the Fort Worth Trinity trails, check out the stockyards, and really...
I used to do a lot of time at Grambling. Used to hang out there.
Good. All right, Cajun boy. And then end up at Benbrook Lake, but Brad wouldn't go for that because he had to roll out of his garage. It rolled back to his garage, and the mileage didn't work for that.
I don't think that's
exactly that's exactly how it went.
As the kids say, show me the receipts. I don't remember that. I don't remember that part of the conversation.
I will make that text chain the cover photo for this episode.
Please do. I don't recall that. I did say I do have to shop tomorrow.
You do have to shop tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so then we opted for IDB,
which was awesome. I was stoked.
I was very stoked because it's a fantastic campsite I had picked out, and I thought it was a pretty good route.
Dude, you sent me the picture of the campsite, and I was like, oh.
So we're going to do that one.
Okay.
That's in the future.
Okay.
And like I said, if we can figure out how to do this every week, I'm fucking game. But I know that's a lot of hoops to jump through. I get that. But then IDB fell apart because the well went out and they shut down the campground.
So stupid.
And we pivoted.
Yeah.
Pivoted.
Yeah.
Or there's lots of pivots in this.
I like a good pivot.
Yeah. Rich knows all about the pivot process.
Rich is a great pivot man.
The best. And I'm having a good time.
Yeah. And the weather, the wind is actually, even though the microphone sounds ridiculous.
Man, I hope the AI can fix that at least a little bit.
But the weather's actually calmed down a little bit.
It's better now.
It's pretty nice.
It's better. I think we can light a fire. I think we can burn all of Rich's wood.
Is there not a burn ban?
No, there is not.
That's interesting.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna.
So I have one more little anecdote.
Please, because
can,
Rich is itching to go.
I can feel you trying to land the plane. But one of my favorite stories to come from that Sacred Spring #1, and not because I was the instigator, but just because of how the impact was. We had ridden, I can't remember how many miles we rode to get there, but we are 10 miles from where we're going to camp, and all of a sudden I start putting the pieces together, and I'm like, my girl, Lori, that lives in Forestburg,
Yoga girl,
is right down the street. And so I call her, because I have my aftershocks, and I go, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, what do you want? And I was like, how far are you from the grasslands? She's like, I don't know, like 10 minutes. And I go, if I sent you some money, could you bring us some beer? We are about to pull into the grasslands to sleep. We rode from my house, and she's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? And she's like, so, what do you want? And I go, Coors? And she goes, a case? And I go, perfect. She goes, I got you. So we pull into the grasslands, and she's sitting there in her truck with a case of ice cold Coors Original Banquets. I didn't tell anybody. We pull in and I go, hey, we got to ride down to right there. We ride up. She jumps out. She's a pretty blonde with cowboy boots on, and she's got 2 12-packs of Coors Original. And she's like, how you boys doing? And it was the highlight of the trip. I mean, for me, I don't know about the other boys, but we carried beers up to our campsite. We had beers while we were setting up and everything, and it was one of those last-minute audibles that was amazing, you know. Had I thought about it ahead of time and tried to pre-plan it,
you can't plan shit
it
like
wouldn't have
that.
worked. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So it was pretty epic. That was the highlight for me. I mean, the fire antics were quite enjoyable as well, and I really enjoyed all the riding in the rain. You know, we were riding through the trail, coming back from Alvord, passing runners that looked like they were on death's bed, and I was like, I'm glad I'm not doing that shit.
Did Caleb ever pick up his liner?
You know, that's a great question. I think you should ask Caleb that.
If I could ever get him on this show again, that'll be the first question I ask him. You know what we need? We need to get Caleb to join us on one of these trips.
I miss that guy.
I miss him so much.
He's such a good boy.
Well, what does he need to do to join us, do you think?
He needs to ride his bike.